Cliff Godwin on the show today. David Kahn, my co-host, is back from Chicago. I think both are jet-lagged just a tad. Paul Skenes is going to make his Major League Baseball debut against my Cubbies this weekend. We'll touch on the midweek on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers, frame up the lineup card for you as well this weekend. David, we can't go any further, though, until we discuss Chicago, because you took a flight back this morning, Thursday morning. We'll talk to Cliff Godwin. We'll bring that interview to you in about 20 minutes or so. He's in a layover from Orlando to New Orleans as ECU prepares to take on Tulane, one of two remaining AAC series. 2 regular season weekends remain across all of college baseball. But, David, tell me about Chi-Town, man. How was it?
Dude, it was fun. Second time there. Had a much different experience because the first time I was there, I was with my parents, uncle, and grandmother for her 85th birthday. So she kind of dictated a little bit of what we did the first time, which was fine, but it was just, different type of outings most of the time. But no, Chi-Town was great. I sent you a very delicious deep dish pizza that I got from Bartoli's yesterday. That was post Cubs game, which, by the way, the Cubs got destroyed by Dylan Cease yesterday and the San Diego Padres. They got one.
You went
hit.
to the wrong game, dude. You weren't at the Lightning
know.
game where Michael Busch just sent everyone packing with lightning striking as he walked off with a home run to right field. I mean, it was glorious against San Diego.
Yes.
I was hoping you were at that game. Instead, you were at the one the day after.
Yeah, I was at the Wednesday day game. Yeah, we did not go on Tuesday. Tuesday, we just kind of gallivanted around the town and had some fun and poked our head in and out of some spots. We saw what happened, but we were not there. We were a little wary of being out and about with all of the weather and the tornadoes and all that stuff. So we kind of stayed in the area close to the hotel. But Wednesday, we went all over the place. We hit this place called Egg Tuck for breakfast, went through Millennium Park. The Bean is under construction, so I couldn't show my friend the Bean in all of its glory. We walked by it, and it's fenced in, like it's in jail right now. So he couldn't even really get up close to it like I have in the past. Where do we go went to Chinatown for lunch, delicious. And then Bartoli's for dinner post Cubs game. So we hit every little area that we could, walked a ton, took the L all over the place. But yeah, we were out until the wee hours of the morning and then hopped on the train all the way back to O'Hare, and here I am. So great experience. Always enjoy going to Chicago now two times, been at Wrigley twice. Had a good time, but glad to be back and talking some more some college baseball, and to have Cliff Godwin on the program. I mean, come on. I know he's in the airport, but still, I mean, anytime you get a chance to have the legendary head coach of the Pirates on the show, you can't pass that up.
While you were gallivanting yesterday, I'm going to save this for the end of the pod. Just a little tease. I have a special hat tip, dude, SDA, all of it bundled into one nugget. And it also happened in Chicago while you were in the Windy City yesterday. So I'll save that for the end of the pod following the lineup card. But yes, Cliff Godwin, second winningest coach in ECU history, sitting on 388 career wins, has guided ECU to 7 regionals, 4 times as a Greenville host, 4 supers, hosted their first ever on-campus super regional against Texas a couple of years ago. He's guided 13 All-Americans, 40 all-conference selections, 25 first-teamers, and 22 Major League Baseball draft picks, one of which will make 23 when Trey Yesavage hears his name called coming up in July. There's no doubt about that. Interesting recruiting story with him, too, that Cliff will shine a light on, as he was initially committed to remain in his home state and was, doing what boys do growing up on a 100-acre farm. And that's, a lot of outdoor stuff. And he was a football player and didn't realize he even had the ability to throw a fastball as hard as he did, or baseball would be in his future, until his dad, for some, blissfully amazing reason, decided to clock his young boy at the age of 14 on how hard he was throwing. And the rest is history, or the story is still being written, I guess it would be better put. So Cliff Godwin coming up, ECU 37-10, 16-5, ahead of 3 games with Tulane this weekend. Where do you want to go here at the start of the show? Should we talk middies? Should we talk Paul Skenes? I mean, we've got to at least react to him finally getting the call up. A .49 ERA, the number 1 overall draft pick a year ago, .49. Now here is, but before you go off, Hagen Smith, I saw this, 1.10, I think, ERA in SEC games. That's almost half that of what Paul Skenes was a year ago. Just think about that. Food for thought.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about right now, is like, you look at the season that Paul Skenes had last year with LSU in the national championship run, and you look at the season that Hagen Smith has, and you're like, oh man, these are like, they're both so incredible. But then Paul Skenes just carried it over into the minor leagues. Like, look at his 2024 MILB numbers right now. 7 starts, 27 and a third innings, 45 strikeouts, a .99 ERA, and overall, you want to carry this a little further, his career minor league numbers, because in 2023, he played in rookie ball, single A, and double A. You add those into his AAA numbers from this year, he's got a 1.85 ERA and 12 starts. He only pitched 34 innings in the minor leagues, and he's going to the bigs. Like, we knew it would be quick for Paul Skenes. Like, that was obvious, blatantly obvious. I didn't know it would be that quick. 34 innings is what, 5 starts in college?
Yeah.
So he's basically made 5 starts, and boom, because they don't pitch him that long. They don't extend him that much. It's like 5 inning starts, but he throws 100 miles an hour right out of the gate and just strikes everybody out. Because right now, overall, 34 innings, 55 Ks to 10 walks, batters hitting 179 against him for his career in 12 total starts in the minor leagues. That's just insane. So he's ready. Call him up, get some more eyes on the Pirates. And yeah, let's see how he does. He's debuting on Saturday against your Cubbies.
209 strikeouts to 20 walks at LSU, 13-2 record a season ago. ERA 1.69 and 122 and 2/3 innings. 209 strikeouts to 20 walks. That's what, 10-1 strikeout to walk ratio?
Basically,
not a math guy.
Yeah.
Just insane. And for him to get to the show, we've been clamoring for it for weeks. You'd have to be stupid to not elevate him. And you wondered about club control. And did you see Livy Dunn's video?
That when he did she post another one when he got promoted?
It might be a repackaged video, but Livy Dunn is certainly trending along with Paul Skenes because of this. So, we're all winners.
So
we're all winners.
The talk was that they weren't going to promote Paul Skenes to the bigs until Livy Dunn's gymnastics season ended, so that they could have her in attendance. That was the whole, extra little piece. And of course, what does LSU do in gymnastics this year? Win the national championship. So,
and Livy Dunn didn't lift a finger, or maybe that's all she did, was just lift one finger for number 1.
Okay.
People forget Paul Skenes was a hitter at Air Force too. Remember we were talking preseason last year with this guy getting any at bats? I mean, we thought that was part of the plan. We were foolish looking back at it retrospectively. But this guy at Air Force hit across 2 seasons, 24 home runs, and he had 81 ribbies in 2 years at Air Force.
It's going to be the exact opposite with Cags when he gets drafted. He's not going to pitch again. Like he's gonna hit. Like that's what it is. So yeah, bravo for Skenes. I'm thrilled that he's getting called up. I hope he strikes out 10 and gives up no hits in 5 innings in his debut, because that'd be really cool. But yeah, it was time. They waited as long as they physically could before they brought him up, it seems like, because he was just dominating. His final start with Indianapolis was 6 scoreless innings, 4 hits, 7 Ks. I mean, he's too good. He's just too good.
Before we go any further, we should bring up some of the notable midweek results from the weekend. And one of those, since we're having Cliff Godwin on, we might as well get the bad out of the way. ECU did drop a midweek game at home, just their 4th loss of the season at Clark LeClaire, falling to Duke 5-2. First win for the Blue Devils since 1996 in Greenville. Held ECU to a season low, 4 hits. Pirates suffering back-to-back losses for just the 2nd time this season. There were 21 combined runners left on base, in this contest.
Oh, God.
And Duke used 7 total pitchers. They started Andrew Healy, who's normally a weekend fireballer, but he hadn't thrown in like over a month, recovering from injury. So he only gave 1 2/3 innings. But Duke jumped him for 2 home runs right off the bat. Ben Miller had one of those with the fancy curly mustache, the Durham native. They hit, I think, 3 dongs in total on the day. So, Duke did what they needed to do in what was not necessarily a game that would hurt either team from an RPI standpoint. Good on them for playing in the midweek this late in the year, which you really have no choice if you're ECU. You're playing star-studded opponents every single midweek because it's North Carolina. It's just littered with top 25 clubs and teams inside the top 50 or certainly the upper third of RPI. But tip your cap to Duke going to Greenville and getting the win over the Pirates.
Well, sure, but for ECU, you have to play these top-tier teams in the midweek because of the conference you're in. Like, the American is not a high RPI level conference. ECU is winning the conference, and they're going to win the conference, and they're going to be a top 8 national seed. But they have to balance their schedule out with these better teams, and they're luckily they play in a college baseball rich state of North Carolina to make it easier to schedule these midweek matchups. Because that's how they continue to I mean, they're very good, but that's all they also continue to be very good and stay within the upper echelon of college baseball.
So Duke beats ECU on Tuesday. Also, Alabama wins the thriller over Troy. I think 7-6. I don't know if it was 7-6 or 8-7. One-run game. Alabama led 5-0 in that one. Troy came back in front of a raucous crowd. That's the environment every time out at Troy. What they've been able to build, and it's a chaotic game. That's what the Troy Trojans play. It's just you're sitting on the edge of your seat almost every single pitch, and that's what we had in Alabama, winning on the road 7-6. Strong midweek win for them. For Troy, this isn't really hurting them in any way in terms of the postseason picture, but just a good high level power conference club out of the SEC versus a Fun Belt team on a Tuesday. Vanderbilt was able to hold off Louisville 4-2. That got really dicey. Bases were loaded with 2 outs at Hawkins Field, and Vanderbilt had to make a one final pitching change, and I forget who it was, came in, closed the door, just one more batter, got the strikeout. It was Devin Futrell, who I think through the first 5 innings picked up the win, but a well-played contest. Battle of the Barrel goes to Vanderbilt for a second consecutive year. And then on Wednesday, Kahn, J.J. Weatherholt hit a baseball that is still going.
Yes.
I mean, he hit Uranus. Screw the moon. This thing went all the way to Uranus.
440 feet off of the roof of the baseball offices in Morgantown, which are in beyond right field at Kendrick Family Ballpark. Holy! I have seen, I don't know, probably 20 games there at this point through the 6 years I've called games sparingly there. I've never seen a ball hit that far in my life. That was destroyed. And you knew it the second he hit it. You're just like, oh my God, where is that going? Like, is that going to go all the way to Virginia? Like, that was smashed. So JJ Weatherholt is here. He's alive. He's not going to win the Golden Spikes Award, but my gosh, West Virginia could be a very scary team come postseason play, which, by the way, we're going to get into bracketology here too. They are currently projected to go back to Lexington. Hopefully not have to stay in dorms again this year. Come on, Kentucky. But they're projected to go back to Kentucky as the 2 seed, with Kentucky right now as the #1 overall seed with 2 weeks to play.
D1Baseball.com's Field of 64 projections. As Kahn said, we'll touch on that right before we get to Cliff Godwin. A couple other notables. Oh, J.J. Weatherholt, now that he's back, like officially, it's been a couple of weeks now, but he did play at shortstop yesterday. I don't know how long he's been inserted back into the field. Do you know, David, off the top of your head? Because he was primarily a DH coming off of injury, but he started at shortstop last night.
Yeah, so they've been able to kind of let him just hit and as the kids say, cook, because they have Brody Kresser. And Brody Kresser's been so solid. He's been hitting well. He plays good defense. So they don't need to necessarily play JJ at shortstop all the time. And, as he builds himself back up into game shape, because he was out for so long with that injury, with that hamstring injury that he suffered in opening weekend. No, I don't know how many times he's played shortstop versus not. I'm going to try and figure that out here in just a moment.
Well, but, the point being,
they have the ability to have Brody Kresser go in.
He is an all-Schass squad member. He was my preseason Golden Spikes Award winner. That isn't going to happen because of injury, derailing much of his 2024 campaign, but he's still going to be highly selected in the draft, if not a top 10 selection, inside the top 15, I would imagine, maybe even higher. I might not be giving him enough credit in terms of his raw ability and what he's projecting at the major league level. He was one of the top prospects entering the college baseball season, which is why I gave him a Golden Spikes preseason honor, yours truly. But yeah, give him the ass honors. All Schass squad, J.J. Weatherholt. He certainly is deserving of that. And many had him on boards, I think, going all the way back to the beginning of the college baseball season, even ahead of guys like Charlie Condon. in terms of what J.J. Weatherholt was expected to be this year. And, who knows? He's healthy at the right time. He's back. West Virginia is going to finish with they got a TBD on the schedule for Tuesday's midweek.
I could provide some light on that, actually.
Yes, please.
By the way,
please do.
The light on J.J. Weatherholt and in the field is 8 of his last 9 games he's been in the field.
Okay.
So the only game he didn't play shortstop was the midweek against Pitt at PNC Park, where he did play in the game. He just didn't play it short. West Virginia routed Pittsburgh in that one, and they demolished Penn State last night to the tune of 6 home runs in a 18-7 7-inning final against Penn State. So listen, West Virginia is another one of those teams like ECU. The home crowds in Morgantown have been legit this year. They've set all kinds of records. They're going to break the single season attendance record for sure. They have to. If they haven't already, they're going to. It's been insane to just see the support for Randy Mazey in his final season as the head coach of West Virginia. Steve Saban's his associate's going to take over next year after 12 years for Mays. But they love playing at home, and they go this weekend at home against Kansas State before they have a TBD on the schedule, and then they go on the road at TCU to close out the regular season. The TBD is something that West Virginia kind of just leaves on the schedule if they can schedule a game. There currently is no game scheduled. But it's one of those things where Randy Mazey, as we've seen in years past, will add games onto the schedule if he feels, 1, his team needs the work, or 2, RPI situation, you might need to boost West Virginia up a little bit. I don't think they need it at this point. I think they're firmly in the field of 64 despite that tough loss at Cincinnati last week. As long as they take care of business against Kansas State and win 2 of 3 this weekend in Morgantown, I would bet that game doesn't happen. Originally, that game actually was against Maryland way back when the schedule came out. Maryland was on the docket. That's been pulled. So that's apparently not happening. But there may still be a game. There may not be a game. But right now, there's no game officially scheduled. They just have it on the schedule as we could put one here, but probably not.
So this isn't a Florida situation, and a great segue. Or at least maybe Kevin O'Sullivan should take a page out of Randy Mazey and West Virginia's book, and at least having the placeholder. They don't even have the placeholder because they need the help. Because they're only,
they do.
What is it, 2 games over 500 at this point? Florida has still not been able to add an opponent for next week's midweek. They're 25-23 following the 4-1 win over USF earlier this week. Florida is going to conclude at home against Kentucky this weekend and then at Georgia. So, at worst, they go 3-3 and still are at 500 heading into Hoover, overall at 2 games under right now. But there has been no development on that front as Florida, it's been publicized. They're trying to add another game, just try to fact check, get somebody in there to get you another win. You're buying a win essentially, but that's the position Florida is in because of early season postponements due to weather against St. John's. They only got 1 game in, a 9-5 loss in the season opener. Didn't even play Saturday or Sunday against the Johnnies. St. John's, a team, by the way, that is playing great baseball out of the Big East here as we hit the stretch run. And on that note, in that same Gators vein, did you see the bomb from Cags, number 27 on the year on Tuesday night? The Oppo taco, where he half swung, half-heartedly, just threw the bat out there and punched it over the left field wall. And the kid made a fine grab with his glove. That's why you bring your glove to the ballpark, folks. Not necessary for broadcasters. I'm talking to you, Mr. David Kahn. But for the young pup
to Hoover this year, all right? It's not coming. All right.
For the young pup on left field, he made a terrific snag. Got all the praise from his father and all of those around in the left field corner as he went running to daddy. But yeah. You'll have to pull up the video of Cags, who just so gently just poked out and was able to pick up home run number 27 on the season in a 4-1 victory.
I just watched it, and it's so funny because he's just flailing his hands out there. Yeah. He's not actually muscling it up. Just boop. And then you see as he comes around and daps up his third base coach, he looks at him and just goes, well, it went out. Like he didn't even think it was going to go out. It just all of a sudden, boop, there it goes. And that's just the raw power that he has, which is why he's going to be a hitter in the pros. He's not. There's no reason to pitch.
That's Gaines.
Yes, yes, it is.
Gaines. Ole Miss. Oh no, they lost in 15 innings to Murray State, 12-9. Not good for a team that is just barely on the bubble. I don't even think they're on it. They're on the wrong side at this point. So
they are
that's not something. Yeah, that's not something you want to have happen if you're Ole Miss at this point in the season, to lose 12-9 to Murray State in the midweek.
So, no, and we're talking about teams in the RPI that we're like wondering where they are. Ole Miss, actually, RPI-wise, is really good. They're at 27.
Yeah, and that's the SEC.
Right, that's the SEC. But then you got a team like West Virginia, who I feel much more comfortable making the field of 64, and their RPI is 37. So, kind of shows you how RPI might be a little flawed.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah. One more all Schass squad selection as we try to catch up here late in the year. Overdue. Okay. So we're adding JJ Weatherholt. Okay.
Yep. Already on.
Lyle Miller Green. I should have done it when you made him your dude of the week.
Yes.
Less than a month ago.
Man
homered for also the 27th time, much like Hags. So we've got Lyle Miller Green, the Oklahoma State transfer, with a terrific mustache, and Cags going toe-to-toe. It's two of my favorite things just colliding. That's mustache and Cags. Each have 27 bombs on the year. And Lyle Miller Green in a bonkers Tuesday midweek win for the Governors over Belmont, 16-12. I think it was the final. Lyle Miller Green is an ass man. All Schass squad honors.
So let's recap who is on the all Schass squad right now. It started with our boy Grant Knipp way back, the Campbell fighting Camels, who took one on the chin against North Carolina earlier this week in the midweek on Tuesday. But Grant Knipp, catcher and closer Grant Knipp, first member of the all Schass squad in 2024. What?
Hagen Smith should have been number 1.
Hagen Smith was number 2.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Yes, he was next. You did 2 pitchers back-to-back, or you did a catcher and a pitcher. So you got your battery out of the way quickly. You had Grant Knipp number 1. Hagen Smith was number 2, obviously the ace at Arkansas. Number 3 was the real DBU, the infielder at Georgia Tech. Then you had Charlie Condon, first baseman for the Dogs, the Georgia Bulldogs. And then you got Jack Caglione, two-way superstar at Florida. J.J. Weatherholt, shortstop at West Virginia. And Lyle Miller Green, outfielder at Austin Peay. So we're missing, what? Third baseman? Maybe? Well, Drew Burst play third. We're missing, what, a second baseman, I think, right now is what we need?
Yeah,
we're missing a second baseman.
And another outfielder, perhaps.
Yep. Yeah, missing a second baseman and outfielder because Charlie Condon, first baseman, outfielder. Cags. Yeah. We have Lyle Miller Green now, too. So we're good.
We'll try to shore that up next week ahead of conference tournament week coming in. Bryson Van Sickle was one of my dudes that I was considering, the Utah guy, but he suffered his first loss of the season this past weekend in dropping game 1 of a doubleheader against Oregon. But he had been nasty, so he's getting some consideration. There are guys out there, if I want to add another pitcher as well, but Hagen Smith, for sure. Do I even have Bazana on there?
No.
I mean, that might be a crime in and of itself. So, he's hit enough bombs. He's at, we talked about it earlier in the week, 26 now? Didn't he have 3 in one game recently?
He had, yes. Yes, that's true. Do you want me to throw him on there? Would that be
put him on there.
The addition?
Put him, yes. Travis Bazana, the man from down under. Ose. What is Grant Knipp up to, by the way? Let's get a stat check on our boy because he was laboring through an injury earlier this season when we tried to get him on the pod. 18 home runs. He did have a 3-homer. Oh, that's when we tried to get him on after the Bucknell game.
Yep.
Yeah. So he has homered 1, 2, 4, 6. He's homered 7 times since, so he's at 18. RB has walked 27 times. What are his strikeout numbers? What are his strikeouts? I can't even.
He's struck out 28 times in 102 at-bats.
Okay. 46 RBIs. He's played in 29 games. So,
yeah. And
he's been hurt.
He's pitched 4 times, 1.59 ERA, 5 2/3, only 1 run allowed, 6 Ks, 1 walk. So, listen, guy can do it all. All Schass squad members need to be not only elite in one area, but all areas of their life and their athletic career. And Grant Knipp certainly is one of those.
Lyle Miller Green, also a 2-way talent as well.
A lot of 2-way guys on your all Schass squad this year.
Yeah, he was a preseason ASUN Player of the Year. Amazing. He leads all of D1 with 84 runs scored, second in home runs, tied with Cags at 27 and RBIs at 80. Here's another nugget, one more on Lyle Miller Green before we move on. Cliff Godwin coming up momentarily. I do want to touch on the field of 64 projections, though, real quick, just thought or two from you, David. But Lyle Miller Green, 1 homer shy of breaking the ASUN single-season record and needs only 2 RBIs to break the Austin Peay all-time record. So,
dang.
There you go. Okay, field the 64. We'll wax on the matchups during the lineup card. Some of our favorites. I have a surefire lock for you that'll come up after ECU's Cliff Godwin. But looking at this latest bracketology, field the 64 out from D1Baseball.com. You got 10 SEC in. What was the ACC number? Was it 8? ACC has 9.
Is 9. Yep.
Yeah. Big 12 with 7, Sunbelt with 5, Pac-12 is 4. We did a light kind of not so serious exercise on this earlier in the week. So I can see some areas, where my projections, my Schass projections, maybe we do this next week. We make it a segment so you can just poke fun at me and laugh at me. And then we'll compare it with D1 baseball later in the week. I'll try to make my own bracket. I mean, why not?
I'll make one too. I'll make one too. We'll both do it.
We'll compare notes. Notes. We'll have to do it on probably. Well, maybe we do it Tuesday, and then then we'll have Thursday to react based on what D1 Baseball came out with. So
there we go.
That'll be your homework for Tuesday. Pac-12's got 4 other multi-bid leagues, include Big East, Big Ten, Big West, and Conference USA. Here's my one major thought. Oregon State, not a top 8 national seed.
Yes.
And they are not a top 16. I beg your pardon. No, they're a 2 seed going to the South Carolina Columbia region.
They're the best 2 seed, though, because the best 2 seed goes to the number 16 overall seed, which right now is South Carolina. So they're right on the cusp right now. I agree with you. I'm wondering how UCSB is hosting over, or we just keep having problems with UCSB hosting over teams we don't think they should be. Like, yeah, UC Irvine lost to Cal Poly. That's going to ding them out of the top 16. So I get why UCSB is now ahead of them, but why Oregon State? Why not Oregon State over UCSB? Where we're going to have the same discussion we had 2 weeks ago.
So in this projection, they got Arizona as a 2 in the UCSB region. So you couldn't have the 2 Pac-12 teams, but still shuffle. I mean, how can you not make that math work? I'm with you.
I don't know. My only other thing is there's 2 SEC teams in here that I think should be flopped. And
Vanderbilt?
No. If we're projecting towards the end of the season, I don't think. I mean,
LSU over
Florida. Yeah. They have LSU as the first 4 out, and Florida as a 3 seed. I think going to Durham. Yeah. I mean, LSU's hot. Florida's not, and Florida, if they don't finish above 500, like you said, they can't make the postseason as an at-large team. So, based on the way things are trending right now, I'm stunned that LSU's not in the field. Like, Florida could hang on, but I'm stunned that LSU's not in.
Yeah, we're projecting based on how they're playing right now and how we expect that to continue throughout the final 2 weeks of the season, 2 weekends, and then postseason play. And what gives you any belief that Florida is a team that is performing better even 3 weeks from now than LSU? When the dust settles. I mean, the Tigers are hot. So, yeah, I'm with you entirely. LSU, and that's simply a conflicting thought space where you're looking at the record right now and the SEC record, but these are projections, to your point. So it's counterintuitive, counterproductive. What's the word? It's they're competing thoughts that you're trying to use here in your projection. Like, I know what D1's doing, but at the same time, it doesn't meet the standard or the theory of what you're trying to accomplish here. The other one was Texas. Watch out for Texas. I put them on our lineup card just because they're a team that has won 8 of their last 10. They're on the road at UCF, but Texas
4 straight Big 12 series wins for Texas.
Yeah, Texas is playing extremely well. They might be, if you've got Oregon State as the 2 seed, I mean, Texas might be the most lethal 2 seed right after them, if that's the case. And they're going to the Fayetteville Regional, where Arkansas is slated as the number 5 overall national seed. You got St. John's there as well, representing the Big East and Little Rock. But Arkansas and Texas in Fayetteville, whew.
Nasty. I mean, that would be a very tough out for Arkansas to get Texas out, even with Arkansas hosting. We saw what happened last year with Arkansas hosting, and TCU came out of there. And also Texas, we say it every year, they've been to Omaha more than anybody else. They know how to get there. Doesn't matter if they're a host or not.
Yeah. All right. Cliff Godwin is on the show. Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers here today. They are on the road going to Tulane, connecting flight out of MCO. Did you know MCO, the Orlando airport, has like a social media presence that is as extravagant as any?
Yep.
Like they have like 100,000 followers.
Yeah.
And if Cliff and ECU were there a week ago, they might have ran into the Orlando Orion, not the Mandalorian. The Orlando Orion, because they go big time for May the 4th. Believe me, I've done some deep research, okay, on MCO.
You have, but I hate MCO, so you're not going to get any praise from me. That's my hometown airport, and it's trash.
Yeah. All right. Well, ECU projected as the number 8 overall national seed. They're 6th in the country right now, according to D1Baseball.com. The Greenville region, according to those projections, has NC State as a 2 seed. Imagine that. Wolfpack coming back to Greenville. James Madison as a 3. And Bowling Green, we gave some impeccable Falcon love earlier this season as the 4 seed. So let's get to Cliff. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and you'll hear some Scott Rogers, the radio voice. They call him Scooter, queuing up our conversation with Cliff Godwin via the ECU Sports Network. Cliff Godwin coming up on the other side.
Should we make a comment on the back and be like, sorry about the airport noises, or just roll with it?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I'll let you do that.
All right, 3, 2, and Schass and Connor back following our visit with Cliff Godwin. I know that wasn't easy for Cliff. He's under the weather. He wasn't feeling his most dappest, if you will. But 2, you've got the airport intercom that is just wreaking havoc throughout various parts of that interview. So we do apologize. We appreciate all of you for bearing with us. Hopefully you were to pick up as much as you could from that infer, decipher, code, all of the great intellect that Cliff Godwin was able to provide with us. He's a straight shooter. You know, that's one thing about him. He's a straight shooter. He's not going to fluff a lot. He's going to give you what you want. He's not going to, talk hours on end. A lot of coach speak, but like you can try to weave through some of that. And like he's all around good guy. You can tell Cliff cares about his players and that program more than anyone.
That's what shines through 100% in this interview that you guys just heard. We talked about the experience of them being involved in the community, the guys, the type of character guys that he looks for, and the way he develops the character of these guys as they go through from being underclassmen to upperclassmen, the way they respect the fan base, the way they feel the love and the energy and the support from the jungle and the entire ECU Pirate baseball fan base. It's something truly special to watch. And if you've never been out to Clark LeClaire to experience an ECU baseball game, you should, because night in, night out, doesn't matter if they're horrible, if they're really, really good, if they're in the postseason, if it's a game in February, the jungle is there, the jungle is alive, and it is electric. So definitely recommend going out and seeing ECU play some baseball, because it's really fun to watch. And Cliff Godwin's a tremendous head coach. Of course, the story on him with ECU is they've never cracked the glass ceiling to get to Omaha. But Schass and I think, are both on the same page right now. We think it's going to happen this year.
We do. I have flipped. I tried to do the reverse jinx in the preseason, but I came out on the record a couple of weeks ago and I said, that's it. I'm not going to pretend anymore. This team is going to Omaha. And as of right now, they are poised to be yet again another top 16 seed, but even a national seed, projected as the number 8 overall, which means a super regional, should they win their own regional, would run through, again, Greenville for just the second time in program history and first since 2012. Our boy Grant Knipp will be there on Tuesday. Campbell in the midweek, going to ECU. We should have asked Cliff Godwin about Grant if he's, familiar with the Nip, the G Nip.
Are you familiar with the Nip?
G Nip is coming to. It's like that college game day song. G Nip is coming to your city.
Did I tell you I was actually? Did I tell you I was actually? In high school, I was in the College Game Day Open.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Did you have your shirt off?
No, I did not have my shirt off. No, they filmed the Open at the campus of Full Sail University in Orlando.
That's Dan Patrick's university,
yes,
right?
That's right. That's right. And they invited a bunch of local high school groups to go be a part of like the crowd shots and whatever. And the group that I was a part of was a group called Project Magic, which basically the long and short of the story is it's David Copperfield founded this group, famous magician, and they're main thing is they go and perform magic for terminally ill kids in the pediatric units of hospitals. That's like the main thing they do. But we also did stage shows. We went all over the city of Orlando, performed a bunch of magic tricks, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the things that I learned how to do while being a part of that group is I learned how to walk on stilts. And they learned that we had a stilt walker, and they were like, oh, we really want to make sure like that the guy who can walk on stilts is in the commercial, like at the front. And so I was in the front of the line at like the gigantic parade that walked down this one street. So you can clearly see me like at the start of the intro. There's me on stilts. It's for about 2 seconds right at the start, but it's like, boop, there I am.
You could play for the Savannah Bananas. We need to
I
get
would
you out
offer
there.
that skill up. If I was going to play for the Savannah Bananas, I would definitely offer up my stilt walking skills. I still know how to do it. It's been a while, but I could get up there and you know, be serviceable on stilts.
Lineup card, shall we?
Great transition.
And let's get out of here. I know you're jet lagged. That was the word I was trying to think of at the start of the podcast, but I did get it in. But I was racking my brain for the 5 minutes between finishing our conversation with Cliff Godwin, which we did. Full transparency here. Peek behind the curtain. Inside baseball, if you will, between two star podcasters in the form of Schass and Kahn. I'm like, what is that word? Because David Kahn and Cliff Godwin are each the same kind of people right now. They're tired. They've traveled. It's been a long day. It's been a long couple of days. You know, Cliff's trying to put the loss against Duke Tuesday behind him. He's bitter over that. He's probably doing some stress eating still. Big caffeine.
Can't even take a nap. Like,
yeah, you can't even get a nap. That's you, man. Did you get your hour nap?
I mean, it was more like restless. I closed my eyes and rolled around for a little bit, but not really. Anyways, lineup card. There's no rest for the weary here this weekend. Let's start with the Big Ten, because we have talked about the fact that the Big Ten, we have no idea who's going to win the Big Ten, and we still don't. But some of these matchups this week are going to help, because as we set the slate for the Big Ten, Illinois leads by a game over Purdue, Nebraska, and Indiana. Iowa is a game and a half back, and Michigan is 2 games back. Well, guess what? All these teams freaking play each other this weekend. Purdue's at Michigan, Indiana's at Nebraska, and Iowa's at Illinois. So we are going to probably see some kind of separation, right? After this weekend of the Big Ten. So very important weekend for Big Ten baseball, which is currently projected to get 2 teams in. We think it's going to be Nebraska, or we think that would be Nebraska not winning the Big Ten tournament and then getting in as an at-large would be the way they get to right now.
I just hope this Big Ten bonanza this weekend, which the schedule makers were on the same level of caffeine that Cliff Godwin drinks on game day when they put the schedule together, because it was genius, right? Everything worked out. They knew something none of us knew. I hope this provides the sort of thrill, drama, entertainment this weekend that a Hell in the Cell would provide in the wrestling industry. That's what this is. This is a Royal Rumble this weekend. And I hope it gives all similar vibes to Rikishi himself in the ring, just spreading his ass all over everyone's face on a turnbuckle. Jesus. Like, that's what I'm looking forward to this weekend in the Big Ten. Big Ten baseball, Rikishi. They're the same. Penultimate weekend. I used
my favorite word.
Yeah,
literally my favorite word.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the other weekend slates, and then you have a surefire lock I know you want to dole out to the listeners. Arizona at Utah. We featured this one earlier in the week because of the fact that Arizona now has a slim edge in the Pac-12, 2-game lead on Utah. But Arizona wins this series, Pac-12 could be locked up. So we got that. We got Georgia at South Carolina. That one actually starts tonight. Very important series determining hosting. South Carolina right now, the number 16 overall seed. And we were just talking about the fact that Oregon State is not right now. South Carolina loses that series. Oregon State wins theirs. Maybe we see a flip.
Yeah, I think this is a knockout blow type thing. We'll look back retrospectively a couple of weeks from now, but the winner of this series, I think, hosts for sure.
Yeah, I'd agree. Tennessee is at Vanderbilt. The newly minted #1 Tennessee Volunteers play in Nashville. Arkansas hosts Mississippi State. Clemson coming to Deaktown to take on Winston-Salem's own Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Virginia and NC State. And we mentioned Texas is at UCF. And then a couple other ones to add on at the end. Northeastern is in South Carolina to take on the College of Charleston. And then do we have a North Dakota State, South Dakota State rivalry on the lineup card? Wow.
Yes, we do. It's the marker rivalry. Now, North Dakota State is the projected team in to represent the Summit League. We talked several weeks back about just how piss poor the Summit League is. Well, they're led by St. Thomas, but they're not even eligible to get in the tournament. So behind them, it's Omaha. And then it's North Dakota State. So right now the Bison are being projected to win, but there's still only 3-4 games separating this collection of like 4.5 teams that participate in the Summit League at this point. It's got to be the smallest conference across the country. I'm sorry, I'm just shitting on the Summit League.
Good Lord.
I am a Summit League alum, okay, but Western has moved to the Ohio Valley. Good riddance. And, because of personal histories that I have, even as recently as last year. But hey, North Dakota State, here you go. Okay. I'm picking you and you will get to the tournament. So that's all I want to hear there. Northeastern is third, I think was my check in the CAA, behind Charleston, who is playing some of the best baseball right now among all mid-majors, or as Indiana State head coach Mitch Hannes will say, that layer just below the big boys. He didn't like the term mid-major, which you figure none of these coaches really do. But Charleston has won 9 of 10 games, and they are among the first 4 out in some tournament projections that I've seen. Northeastern, though, is the third-place team. They still got a shot of trying to play their way in. So there's a lot on the line in the CAA this weekend between those two. All right, surefire lock. You ready?
Yeah.
Give me Wake Forest at the boombox, taking 2 out of 3 from Clemson.
I knew you were going to go there.
Dude,
I knew it.
Not put last year to the side, right? This is not the same Wake Forest team. We knew that pretty early on this year. Well, we knew it after the draft, okay? And they have not met the expectation level with that preseason #1 ranking on their back. But there have been some pretty high peaks. There have been some low valleys. One of them just a couple of weeks ago when they got beat by Notre Dame, 2 out of 3 in South Bend. However, since then, since losing that series in South Bend, Wake Forest, who swept at Clemson a year ago, taking all 3 from the Tigers, but looking in a vacuum this weekend, Wake Forest is entering on a win streak of 6 in a row, and they've scored 85 freaking runs over the last 6 games. 85 runs. I don't know if I've scored 85 runs in my entire life. No, I definitely have. But 85 runs over 6 games. Are you kidding me? I don't care who you're playing. They put up 24 the other day against North Carolina A&T. But 85 during this 6-game win streak. Jake Reinisch, of all people, has homered in 4 straight games. One of the captains on this squad. I feel like he's one of those guys.
That the Rhino?
Don't hate him. No, I'm not. Yeah, but he's a guy that I never really, gave credit to. Okay, but now he's on my radar.
He was hurt a lot last year. Yeah. He should be scratching the surface of your all Schass squad, honestly, because he was a huge part of the 2022 Demon Deacons team. Then he got hurt last year, barely played. Now back with a vengeance. That dude's been playing with the chip on his shoulder all year long. And yeah, you do have to mention the fact that this 6-game winning streak is against App State, High Point, 3 against Western Carolina, North Carolina A&T. You do, but also, you're right. Look at the run totals. 24, 17, 10, 9, 15, 10. Like, I don't care who you are. That's a lot of runs.
I don't care. You have all the confidence in the world. Your offense is doing what it needs to do, and that is curb stomping everyone in your pass and dropping 2 out of 3 to Notre Dame. And the first win, as you said, is against App State. Do you want a rebuttal on your boy? How do we say his name? Because I've got Nuggets. App State 7-1-1 in their last 9 Sunbelt games, 9.4 runs per game. That's 9th nationally during that 9-game stretch. Yeah, it includes a loss to Wake Forest where they led early on, then blew the lead. Wake Forest came back to win the first of that 6-game win streak. But App State, Banks, Tolly?
I think that's right. We said Tolly, so I'm guessing it's Tolly.
385 average, 21 home runs at least. Only 3 other dudes are doing that right now nationally. Name them.
Tags, Condon, Bazana.
Yep. 1 of 4. Crazy.
Yep.
So there's your App State. And that's an App State minute right there. And I think that's a podcast. He's David Kahn at SportsCon4. I'm at Kyle Schass. We'll talk to you next week on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. Oh, wait. Shout out. Hat tip. Dude.
I was going to remind you.
SDA. God, I nearly nailed an ultimate dismount right there.
What is it? Go ahead.
Donnie Ducksettle, my dearest friend, who visited me just a few short weeks ago. He is now a father, and he's going to be one of the best fathers that anyone can be. Child was born. Mr. Rambo himself yesterday was brought into the world by his parents, Donnie and Caitlin. His name's Bo, but we're calling him Rambo. Okay? Rambo for short. His name's Bo, but it's Rambo for short. Don't ask any questions. Just know that this dude already has a seat at the table amongst the best of men. I'm going to send him a Hawaiian onesie as soon as we're done recording this podcast. And I hope, and I know both are healthy at this point, but I just want to say I'm so proud. Congratulations to them. My best friend will be the best man in his wedding coming up in Cancun in December. I hope young Rambo can make the trip. I mean, I don't know if he's got his passport ready. Hell, if he's got $250, he can come to Nashville on the bachelor party in August. I'd love to have Rambo there for that. That's just a few short months away. I don't know if we get the passport turned around in time. Oh, and one other word of advice. Get that
kid a passport when you're 6 months old?
Well, it'll be like 3 months. But still, yeah, point remains. I don't know. I don't know how this stuff works. I just know if you're traveling.
A passport?
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to the Bahamas in November.
Oh,
I got a passport. Tell that kid to start flossing now. I don't care if he just came out of the womb. Tell him to start flossing now. Pudge picked up another cavity this morning. I got to take her to get it filled on Tuesday. Floss them teeth. And apparently she just might not produce enough saliva. So, I mean, the amazing things that I learned today at the dental facility. Yeah, it's nuts, man. It's bonkers. Floss them teeth.